Today, we're diving into one of the most brutal, most pivotal conflicts in all of human history, the Battle of Stalingrad. This isn't just the story of a city, it's the story of a battle that really did change the fate of the entire world.
I want you to just imagine, for a second, a place so dangerous, so totally consumed by war, that the simple act of walking out your door was a death sentence. This wasn't some kind of dystopian novel. It was the reality for millions of people during the horrifying winter of 1942.
Because what we're talking about here is the single deadliest battle ever fought. The scale of the death and destruction at Stalingrad is something that's almost impossible for us to even wrap our heads around today.
So, you've got to ask, why? Why the city? Out of the entire massive Eastern Front, why pour so much blood, so much steel into this one spot? Well, to get that, you have to look at the two men whose names basically defined the entire war. You see, for Adolf Hitler, this was about so much more than just military strategy. The city was named after his arch-nemesis, Joseph Stalin. Taking it wasn't just another goal on the map, it was personal. It was an obsession. To capture Stalingrad was to symbolically crush Stalin himself.
The assault started with just unbelievable force. The German Air Force, the Luftwaffe, unleashed this relentless bombing campaign that literally turned the city into an ocean of fire and twisted metal. Buildings were just skeletons, and the streets, they became graveyards.
And here is where the German high command got it so wrong. They totally expected the Soviets to just crumble, to surrender in the middle of all that devastation. But they did the exact opposite. They dug into the ruins, they stayed, and they got ready to fight for every single brick.
And what came next was a new kind of warfare. It was so uniquely horrifying that the German soldiers who had to live through it gave it a chilling name. It was truly a new kind of hell on Earth.
I mean, think about it for a second. It's a huge tactical problem. When every collapsed building is a fortress and every street is a kill zone, how does an army even move forward? Well, the answer was found right there, in the rubble itself. They called it Rattenkrieg, the Rat War. And this was not a battle of grand strategies or sweeping tank movements. No, this was a vicious, up-close and personal struggle. It was fought room by room, floor by floor, in the shattered skeletons of factories and apartment buildings. You had soldiers using sewers just to outflank an enemy who was hiding in a basement just a few feet away. Just try to picture that environment. There were no front lines, there were no safe zones. The enemy could be in the next room separated by just one wall, or they could be hiding in the sewer grate right under your feet. Every single inch of that city was the battlefield, and it was all just constant point-blank chaos. So the Germans were slowly, bloodily grinding their way through the city, paying for every single meter with human lives. But as this insane fighting raged on, an even bigger, more powerful enemy was on its way, the infamous Russian winter.
Minus 30 degrees Celsius. I mean, that is colder than the inside of a commercial freezer. It's a kind of cold that doesn't just bite you, it kills you. And for an army without the right gear, it was a death sentence. And the thing is, the German army was catastrophically unprepared. They didn't have winter clothing, their supply lines were stretched way too thin, and pretty soon, more soldiers were dying from starvation and frostbite than from enemy bullets. The cold became the Soviets' single greatest ally.
And this was the moment everything changed. As the Germans were literally freezing inside the city, the Soviet Red Army launched this massive, brilliant surprise attack called Operation Uranus. And they didn't attack the city head-on. No, they hit the weak spots way outside the city, and in one move, they completely surrounded the entire German Sixth Army.
So in this just stunning reversal of fortune, the hunters had become the hunted. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of German soldiers now completely trapped, cut off from all supplies with absolutely no hope of escape as the winter just got colder and colder.
So what was the order from Hitler, all the way back in his headquarters? This: fight to the last man, no retreat. It was a fanatical order, broadcast to his starving, freezing army. He forbade any attempt to break out or surrender, basically condemning his own men to a slow, agonizing death, all for the sake of his pride.
The timeline of the end is just grim, and it's fast. The trap closes in November. Then for 2 brutal months, December and January, the pocket is squeezed tighter and tighter, and the army inside just withers away from hunger, disease, and cold. And by early February, it was all over. The last remnants of the once invincible Sixth Army finally surrendered.
The guns finally fell silent in Stalingrad, but the impact of the battle, well, that was just beginning to be felt across the entire world. Its legacy would echo through the rest of the war and really would define the course of modern history.
2 million. Just let that number sink in for a moment. 2 million. That's the estimated total number of casualties, soldiers and civilians, on both sides. An entire city and multiple armies were essentially wiped off the map in just over 5 months.
And this is the key takeaway. The Battle of Stalingrad was the turning point of World War II. Before this battle, the German war machine looked unstoppable. After Stalingrad, it was on a permanent, irreversible path to total defeat. This was it. This was the moment the tide of the war turned for good.
In the end, This battle teaches us a really powerful, if brutal, lesson about war. It wasn't just about who had the better weapons or the more brilliant tactics. In the frozen ruins of Stalingrad, victory belonged to the side that could simply endure more suffering, more loss, and still refuse to break.
And that really forces us to ask a pretty fundamental question. When you're faced with impossible odds and horror that is just unimaginable, what is the true limit of human endurance? What is the limit of our will to survive? The story of Stalingrad offers a profound and frankly a terrifying answer.